Hi, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri appellate attorney and a guy who likes to make the law make sense on YouTube. Today I'm going to explain to you why I think the defense made some serious missteps in their handling of a witness yesterday in the Paltrow trial. Let's go down to the beach and talk about this. Before we get into the actual trial footage here, I'd appreciate it if you'd stick around till the end after I finish my criticisms here. I would really be interested in your take on this cross-examination. The Paltrow trial yesterday went for about 8 hours. Only probably 5 of that actually contained testimony and things that are of relevance to the outcome of the case. But there were a couple of segments in there involving one witness that I think are really important. Now, there are certain kinds of witnesses that we can take issue with in a very aggressive manner. For example, when you've got a doctor who flew from way out of town to come in and be an expert witness and give a bunch of opinions, only some of which are grounded in science, well, you can beat him up pretty bad on the stand. You know, you can ask him why he didn't consider things and all of that. And you can be fairly aggressive, and at the end you can impeach him with his credibility. You know, isn't it true that, you know, your testimony has been excluded in other trials? You know, there are a lot of things that you can do. You probably draw an objection to that question, but you can at least get the information to the jury. Because during cross-examination, the answer is not important. It's the question that's important. And once you ring that bell, you can't unring it. So you can pretty much get away with asking anything on cross-exam because the judge will just say, you know, overruled. And of course, then it looks like the guy didn't want to answer the question when he may in fact have wanted to answer the question. But there is a different kind of witness that you have to treat with kid gloves. And that is a family member of the person that you're suing for. It's what we call a sympathetic witness. Now, you can still bring out all of the things you need to bring out, bias and prejudice about, you know, their dad. You know, isn't it true that you love your dad? Yes. Isn't it true that, you know, you'd do anything for him, right? Yes. I mean, you go to the store for him, right? You'd help him with his car payment if he needed, right? All of those things you can get into evidence, and you can establish that, yeah, there's a really strong bond and hence a possibility that they might lie. What you absolutely cannot do is beat them up in a way that looks mean or unfair. And when you do beat a witness up and you look mean and unfair, all of the good that you do in your cross-examination tends to be lost. We are going to start with a clip where the plaintiff's attorney does a reasonably competent job of getting some information into the record about how Mr. Anderson was prior to the accident. And I think he does a reasonably good job here. Let's listen.
At Hope's graduation, your mom came?
Yes.
The one that he had divorced, right?
Right.
And how'd they get along?
They don't get along. There's usually a lot of distance. I mean, they share family members, so I think they're respectful of that and come to the celebration, shared celebrations, but they don't usually converse or connect.
Was she respectful?
Was my mom respectful?
Oh, your dad.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
That go round.
Okay. Any change in his social life and friends that you observed?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what it would be.
You know, I'm not super close with his friendships, but it does feel like they've kind of fallen away. Relationships, friendships has been really hard for him to navigate.
You told me once that it was a lot harder for him. He had to work a lot harder to be a friend. Is that a fair statement? Explain that. Explain that.
It feels like after the accident, he's a little more involved with his own world, and that's harder to sustain connections when it's kind of about me right now. That's a change. I didn't And that makes it really hard to just to genuinely care about people. That's part of our connection.
I still think these guys have a long way to go to get to the point where they are likable and approachable, but he at least did a reasonably good job of walking her through her testimony. Now, let's look at the defense cross-exam of this witness.
I'm going to tell you things that Jenny has told us under oath, and I want you to comment on them, okay? Is it true that Jenny moved out of her parents' household after high school?
Correct.
All right. And how much older are you than Jenny?
I'm 6 years older.
And how many years had you moved out of the house before Jenny moved out of the house?
So I moved out at 18, so she would have been 12. So she had 6 years at home without me.
Okay, and and would you describe your parents' marriage as a good marriage when you left 6 years before their...
They were in the middle of a divorce, and not an amiable one.
And his second divorce wasn't amicable either, was it?
Overruled?
She can always say, I don't know the answer. So when he says foundation, if you don't know the answer, rather than hear this objection all the time, you can just say, I don't know.
I don't know.
Judge, there's one judge in the courtroom, and it's not Judge Owens.
Objection here was a good one, but the judge handled it like a pro. Great job here.
I think each questioner can give some ground rules to the witness, and I think it was appropriate. So.
Was the second marriage amicable?
I don't know.
Don't you really?
When you use a construct like "don't you really," as he just did here, and then smile kind of smirkily like that, well, what you're telling the jury is this witness is lying. But the witness herself did an exceptional job of sticking with this and giving good answers.
I know that they're friends today.
Okay, so your answer?
It seems like they've been able to continue a friendship anyway.
The jury heard evidence yesterday by Mr. Goldstein, Dr. Goldstein, that these words described your father before the ski accident, and I want you to tell me just if you observed this. He was controlling.
No.
He relentlessly tried to mold people.
All people? Specific people?
Jenny,
I would say, yes, he did try to mold Jenny.
in a negative way.
I think he would say he was trying to be a positive influence.
I asked for your impression. Did you believe that's a positive thing?
I have no opinion on that.
Jenny has a pretty strong opinion on that, doesn't she?
She does.
That it was in an awful, unhealthy way. Is that her opinion?
Are those words she used in her deposition?
Just ask.
Oh, go ahead.
I've been told not to read the deposition, so I'm just asking you to comment. Jenny believes it was an awful, unhealthy way. Do you agree?
No.
You think Jenny would say, by the way, let me ask about Jenny for a minute.
Yeah.
Have you talked to Jenny about this trial?
She knew I was coming. Mm-hmm.
Jenny committed in writing to attend this trial, and then, let me finish my question, and then pulled out.
That's irrelevant. The jury should disregard the question.
Do you know if Jenny's planning to attend this trial?
To answer that. Oh, she is not planning on attending.
Do you know that there was a point in time when she committed to attend this trial?
Overruled.
Are you
I was not aware.
Or that she was planning to attend the trial?
Questions asked and answered, so there's not relevance to any more questions along this line.
Did you or anyone you know attempt to dissuade her from attending this trial?
No, she felt like it would be a financial hardship. I said I would be happy to pay for her airplane ticket if she wanted to come.
I did too. Do you know that?
That's totally irrelevant.
I think the witness opened it up, so.
Do you know that I did? I offered to pay too.
No, I did not know.
So did you weigh in on that, Jenny? I don't think it's good for you to attend the trial.
No, not at all. I honor people's journey, and so that's entirely up to her.
So in that segment, what our defense attorney was trying to do is create the implication that prior to the accident, Mr. Anderson was mean and controlling and didn't treat his daughter Jenny very well. And he is, by implication, asking if that happened to this witness. And that is not this witness's experience, or if it was this witness's experience, she's forgiven her dad and simply isn't being truthful about it. It didn't look to me like she was trying to conceal anything. I didn't see any micro expressions or body language that would indicate to me that she wasn't telling anything except the truth. But as we go a little bit further here, you can see how quickly it becomes obvious that this particular young lady is very attached to her dad, which is normal, and is a better witness than the lawyer is cross-examiner. Let's listen.
He was constantly overstepping the boundaries she set. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
He would be frequently frustrated if his expectations were not met.
Agree.
He had a very strong emphasis on discipline.
With Jenny?
Sure.
Agree.
He had very high demands and would be very frustrated if his expectations were not met.
Disagree.
Okay, and to be clear, we're all talking about pre-ski collision, true?
Correct.
All right. That he was domineering to Jenny and your mother.
Disagree.
Okay, I'm going to split those because that was a compound question, we call it. So as to Jenny, was he domineering and emotionally and verbally abusive to her prior to the ski collision?
Disagree.
So she made that up. She's testified under oath. She made that up.
It's her experience. So
I want
you're
the
asking
truth.
my opinion, and I think you have her experience.
Is she lying? I mean,
Are you saying there's one truth?
Yeah, just a second.
on certain facts, there.
Counsel, I have an
Sure.
objection. What's the
Yeah,
objection?
Your Honor, I don't think he can ask if someone else is lying. He doesn't know that. It's an improper question.
This is her sister, Your Honor,
I mean,
who
he can
she's
ask
very
what the
close
facts-
to.
He can ask what the facts are. You know, and the jury can make up its own mind, but he shouldn't be concluding for someone that's not here whether she's telling the truth or not. It's improper.
I mean, under certain circumstances, a lay witness can offer an opinion. I don't think I've heard enough foundation for that opinion, so sustained.
So if Jenny says that your father was domineering, do you agree or disagree prior to the ski accident?
Disagree.
And if she so testifies, and we're going to read part of her transcript into the record, if she so testifies, that is not true. He was not domineering. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying he was not domineering.
So if Jenny says he was,
That is her testimony.
and you would disbelieve it,
My testimony would say he was not domineering.
Would you
Her testimony is that he was.
right? So they can both be true.
Objection argumentative.
Overruled.
So depending on people's mental capabilities and disabilities, sometimes we experience events differently.
In the manner that the questions were asked, basically what he is trying to get this witness to do is say, well, Jenny must have lied about that, which of course would make both Jenny look bad, but it would probably more likely make her look bad because now she's criticizing a sister that she loves. Instead, this witness does something that I have rarely seen done better. Basically, what she says is, look, that's her experience, it's not mine.
My testimony would say he was not domineering.
Would you
Her testimony is that he was.
Right.
If you're ever on the stand and somebody asks you to comment on another person's testimony, that is an exceptionally good way to deflect those questions. Look, she testified her way, that's how she saw things. I didn't see things that way, but I'm not calling her a liar, and I think it's kind of unfair of you to even ask me to do that, which is the only thing she didn't add in that clip. But I think it was pretty well implied. Why do I think that? Well, because of this next clip here.
Thank you. Let the record reflect the jury's back in the room and parties and counsel are present. Mr. Owens?
I need to apologize. I was being an ass earlier. You are, it was wrong for me to triangulate you, your dad, and your sister, and your mom. And I ask for your forgiveness.
Now, I don't know whether the court called that lawyer aside and said, look, you need to apologize to this witness. You are trying to triangulate her and put her between her mom and her sister and her dad, and that's not right. You're asking her to do things that you should not be asking her to do. If I had been the judge, I might have done that. Unfortunately, if you do that, it also tends to look a lot like you're trying to help the defense. So my guess is this particular judge, who I think is an excellent judge, did not do that. Rather, what I think happened is I think his partners called him aside afterward and said, we were looking at the jury when you were doing that, and holy cats, they are not happy with you. You have to quit beating this poor woman up. And I think that's probably a really good thing. I would also point out that during the Depp Heard trial, both sides had people watching the live streams and monitoring the comments. I don't know that for a fact, but that's kind of what I got from the way that both sides reacted during the trial. And I think that's an exceptionally smart approach if you are trying a case and you want to know how your message is being received. So if there was an attorney back at the main office who was watching this trial and watching the comments come up in either Law and Crime or Court TV or one of the many other numerous streams that are being done out there, well, I think it's pretty obvious that they would have said something and that would have happened. But I want to point out one thing about this apology. Let's watch it one more time.
I need to apologize. I was being an ass earlier. You are, it was wrong for me to triangulate you, your dad, and your sister, and your mom. And I ask for your forgiveness.
Did you see the smirk? I asked for you to forgive me, right? And then I smirked like, yeah, I really expect that. Everything that he did for himself with his apology, he just shot himself in the foot again with that smirk. What was this guy thinking? I initially thought maybe this guy was, going to be a pretty decent cross-examiner and we were going to get some really good teaching points out of this, but the only teaching points we're getting out of this are that this is not how you do a cross-examination. The problem in trial is that once you do damage, it's really hard to undo damage. And I have to again point out that the judge here is very level-headed. He is not letting the witness or the attorney talk over one another, and he's also dealing with the objections and shutting down the attorney. In this case, the attorney for the defense, he's definitely shutting him down when he steps across the line. And I do think that, at least with regard to the whole I offered to pay for a ticket, did you know that? I thought that was a very good parry on the part of the defense counsel because he could get that into evidence and he could do it in the way that he did it. But you have to be careful. You know, the idea that no dead horse should go unbeaten is just not the right way to try a case. Now, somebody in the comments yesterday pointed out that this case has been almost as vexing as the Darrell Brooks trial. I don't think I necessarily agree with that, because the Darrell Brooks trial was a little bit like having your upper lip bitten off by rats with bad teeth, because it's just too painful to imagine. But this is more like, I don't know, turning the pepper spray can the wrong way when you test it. It hurts, but you'll get over it. And there are some really good lessons to be learned out of this trial, particularly in terms of evaluating how well an attorney does during a trial. So what did you think? Was this an effective cross-examination, or did our lawyer here shoot himself in the foot? I'd love to know what you think in the comments down below. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I'm sorry if I left you with a bad mental image in your head of rats chewing your lips off, but I think that pretty accurately captures what happened in the Darrell Brooks trial. Thank you so much for watching, and for all of you who have subscribed recently, thank you for subscribing. That's all I have for you today. If you have the opportunity today to do something nice for someone, please try and do that. It will make your day a lot better. I'm going to head on down to the beach, and I will catch you folks later.
If you like this video, here are a few others you might try, and don't forget to subscribe. Have a terrific day, guys.